The stars above Earth twinkled like tiny diamonds scattered across the night sky. To most people on the planet below, those stars were just pretty lights, something to admire while camping or dreaming about faraway places. But tonight, those stars wasn't a star at all. It was something else entirely. High above Earth's atmosphere, a sleek alien ship hovered silently. Its surface shimmered with colors that shifted between deep blue and silver, almost invisible against the blackness of space. This was no ordinary spaceship. It belonged to the Zarnathi Dominion, an ancient empire that had conquered countless worlds without ever facing real resistance. Their technology was centuries ahead of anything humanity could imagine, and their soldiers were trained for perfection. Yet here they were, hiding in orbit around Earth, unsure what to make of this strange little planet. Commander Vakesal stood on the bridge of the scout vessel, his long fingers tapping impatiently on the control panel. He was tall, even by Zarnathi standards, with pale gray skin and eyes that glowed faintly red. Around him, his crew worked quietly, monitoring screens filled with data streaming from Earth's surface. They had been observing the planet for hours now, gathering information about its inhabitants, its defenses, and its resources. "Report," Vakesal said sharply, breaking the silence. One of his officers turned toward him. Her name was Lirain, and she was one of the best analysts in the fleet. "Scanners show significant energy emissions," she replied. "Most are concentrated in large cities, but there are also random bursts coming from smaller areas. Some appear to be natural phenomena, but others, we're not sure." Vakesal frowned. Random energy bursts? That wasn't typical behavior for civilizations at Earth's level of development. Most species either stayed primitive or advanced steadily along predictable paths. Earth, however, seemed chaotic, unpredictable. It made him uneasy. "And their communications?" he asked. "Constant chatter," Lyran said, gesturing to another screen. "We've detected thousands of signals, radio waves, microwaves, even laser pulses. Much of it appears to be entertainment or trivial exchanges. Very little seems organized." Vakesal leaned closer to examine the display. The symbols scrolling across the screen meant nothing to him. They were fragments of human language, music, advertisements, and news broadcasts. To the Zarnathi, it looked like noise. Useless, meaningless noise. And yet, there was something unsettling about it. Something alive. "What about military activity?" Vakesal asked next. "We've identified several bases emitting low-level electromagnetic fields," Lirain reported. "Their weapon systems seem rudimentary compared to ours, but—" She hesitated, glancing at her commander. "There are anomalies. Spikes in energy readings near certain locations. Could indicate experimental technology." Vakesal's frown deepened. Experimental technology? On a planet where most of the population still relied on fossil fuels? It didn't add up. Still, the Zarnathi prided themselves on being thorough. If Earth had surprises waiting, they needed to know before making their move. "Keep scanning," he ordered, "and maintain cloak. We don't want them detecting us prematurely." Meanwhile, 250 miles below the alien ship, a young man named Evan Blake sat hunched over a desk in a dimly lit room. Evan was only 24 years old, but he already had a reputation as one of the sharpest radar technicians at the local airbase. His job wasn't glamorous. He spent most of his time staring at monitors, analyzing blips on screens. But he took pride in his work. After all, someone had to keep an eye on the skies. Tonight, though, something unusual caught his attention. A faint signal flickered on his radar display, barely noticeable among the clutter of commercial flights and weather patterns. At first, Evan thought it might be interference from solar flares or equipment malfunction. But when he zoomed in, the signal remained steady. It wasn't moving like an airplane, nor did it match the signature of any known satellite. Curious, Evan adjusted the frequency range and ran a diagnostic test. The signal persisted, growing slightly stronger as he fine-tuned the settings. Whatever it was definitely up there, in orbit. Evan scratched his head, trying to make sense of it. He'd never seen anything quite like this before. Was it some new secret government project, or maybe something else? He grabbed his phone and snapped a quick photo of the screen, then sent it to his friend Maggie Lang. Maggie was a drone enthusiast who loved tinkering with gadgets and posting videos online. If anyone could help him figure out what was going on, it was her. "Hey, check this out," Evan typed in the message. "Found something weird on radar. Thoughts?" A few minutes later, his phone buzzed with a reply. "Looks funky," Maggie wrote back. "Send me more details. I'll see if my drones pick up anything." Evan smiled. Maggie always jumped at the chance to investigate mysteries. Together, they made a good team, even if their methods weren't exactly official. As Evan continued monitoring the signal, he couldn't shake the feeling that something big was happening. Something important. Little did he know, his discovery would soon change everything, not just for him, but for the entire world. Back aboard the Zarnathi scout ship, Commander Vakesal stared out at the glowing blue orb spinning peacefully below. Earth looked so small, so fragile. How could such a seemingly insignificant planet produce such confusing signals? What secrets lay hidden beneath its clouds and oceans? For now, the Zarnathi would watch and wait. But sooner or later they would have answers. And once they understood Earth, they would act. They always did. The next morning, Maggie Lang woke up early to the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She groaned and reached for it, squinting at the bright screen. It was Evan, sending her more details about the strange signal he'd found. Attached to the message was a series of screenshots from his radar system, along with coordinates and timestamps. Maggie sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. She loved puzzles like this, especially when they involved weird things in the sky. Grabbing her laptop, she opened her drone control software and programmed one of her custom-built quadcopters to head toward the area Evan had flagged. The drone's cameras were top-notch, and its range extended far enough to reach the edge of Earth's atmosphere. If there was anything unusual up there, her drone would find it. As the drone ascended, Maggie sipped coffee and watched the live feed on her screen. At first, everything looked normal, just clouds, birds, and the occasional airplane. But then, something strange appeared. A dark shape floated silently against the blue backdrop of the upper atmosphere. It wasn't an airplane, and it definitely wasn't a bird. The object shimmered faintly, almost blending into the surrounding air. "What the heck is that?" Maggie muttered to herself. She zoomed in with the drone's camera, capturing high-resolution footage. The closer the drone got, the clearer the object became. It was smooth, metallic, and shaped like a teardrop. Strange symbols glowed faintly, along its surface pulsing with soft light. Maggie's heart raced. This wasn't some secret military project. It was alien. There was no doubt about it. Without wasting another second, she recorded a quick voiceover explaining what she was seeing and uploaded the video straight to her YouTube channel. Within minutes, the clip went live under the title, "UFO Caught on Camera." By lunchtime, the internet had exploded. Maggie's video spread faster than wildfire. Social media platforms lit up with reactions ranging from excitement to skepticism. Some viewers claimed the footage was fake, while others insisted it proved aliens were real. Memes flooded Twitter and Instagram, turning the mysterious object into a pop culture sensation overnight. One meme showed the teardrop-shaped craft captioned, "When you're trying to sneak past Earth but get caught by a drone." News outlets picked up the story within hours. CNN, Fox News, and even late-night talk shows featured segments about the mysterious shimmering UFO. Conspiracy theorists speculated wildly, suggesting everything from government cover-ups to intergalactic tourists. Late-night comedians joked about aliens coming to steal Wi-Fi passwords, but not everyone was laughing. In secure facilities around the world, intelligence agencies scrambled to analyze the footage. Satellites were redirected, radar systems recalibrated, and classified briefings held. The U.S. Air Force took particular interest, dispatching experimental drones equipped with advanced sensors to investigate further. One of these drones, a sleek unmanned aircraft armed with a prototype railgun, was piloted remotely by a team stationed deep underground. Their mission? Intercept and disable the unidentified object before it could escape or cause harm. On board the Zarnathi scout ship, alarms blared as the human drone approached. Commander Velixal stormed onto the bridge, his glowing red eyes narrowing as he studied the incoming threat. "What is that thing?" he demanded, pointing at the screen. "It appears to be some kind of attack drone," Liran replied, her voice tense. "Its weapon systems are primitive compared to ours, but, sir, it's targeting us." Velixal clenched his fists. "Primitive? Then why didn't our scanners detect it sooner?" Liran hesitated. "It seems to operate on frequencies outside our standard detection parameters. Perhaps it's using experimental technology." "Experimental or not, it's still dangerous," Velixal snapped. "Destroy it." The Zarnathi probe launched a countermeasure, a burst of energy designed to disable the drone systems. But the humans were ready. The railgun fired, propelling a metal slug at hypersonic speeds. The projectile struck the probe dead center, tearing through its hull and sending shards of alien metal spiraling into space. Back at the Air Force Base, cheers erupted among the drone operators. They had done the impossible. They'd taken down an alien spacecraft. For the first time in history, humanity had successfully engaged an extraterrestrial target. Meanwhile, Maggie Lang had no idea her little drone adventure had sparked global chaos. She spent the afternoon fielding calls from reporters, scientists, and curious fans. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing, and her inbox overflowed with messages. By evening, she decided to step outside for some fresh air. As she walked through her quiet neighborhood, Maggie noticed neighbors gathered in driveways staring up at the sky. Someone pointed excitedly, shouting, "Look, is that it?" Maggie followed their gaze and saw a streak of light descending rapidly. It wasn't her drone. It was something much bigger. The object slowed as it entered the atmosphere, revealing the same teardrop shape she'd filmed earlier. Only this time it was surrounded by smaller crafts, all moving in perfect formation. "Oh my God," Maggie whispered, pulling out her phone to record. "They're here." The alien ships landed near Denver, Colorado, drawing immediate attention from local authorities. Sheriff Karen Morales was one of the first responders on the scene. She arrived to find a group of strange figures standing awkwardly beside their crashed vessel. They were tall, thin, and wore sleek suits that shimmered like liquid metal. Their faces were expressionless, and their movements jerky, as though they weren't used to walking. "Hands where I can see." "Damn!" Karen shouted, aiming her gun at the nearest figure. The aliens froze, clearly confused. One of them raised a hand slowly, but instead of surrendering, it emitted a soft hum. A holographic display flickered to life, showing indecipherable symbols. Karen frowned. "What the hell is this supposed to mean?" Before anyone could react, the aliens started arguing amongst themselves, or at least that's what it sounded like. Their voices were high-pitched and melodic, completely unlike anything Karen had ever heard. Frustrated, she called for backup and ordered the aliens into custody. As the deputies led the bewildered invaders to a waiting police van, Karen couldn't help but shake her head. "First contact," she muttered under her breath. "And it ends with a traffic stop." News of the arrest spread quickly. Footage of the incident aired on every major network, accompanied by endless commentary. Some praised Sheriff Morales for her bravery, while others criticized her handling of the situation. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories multiplied, with some claiming the aliens were actors hired by the government to distract from economic issues. But behind closed doors, serious discussions were taking place. World leaders convened emergency meetings to decide how to handle the unprecedented crisis. Scientists debated whether the aliens posed a threat, while military strategists prepared for potential retaliation. In Denver, the captured aliens remained silent, refusing to communicate beyond their cryptic symbols. Despite extensive questioning, they offered no explanation for their presence or their sudden arrival. Back in orbit, Commander Velixal watched the events unfold with growing frustration. His probe had been destroyed, his infiltration team arrested, and now Earth's entire population seemed obsessed with their existence. He had expected fear, panic, maybe even blind obedience. Instead, humanity responded with curiosity, humor, and outright defiance. "They're insane," Velixal muttered, pacing the bridge of his ship. "How do you fight something that doesn't follow logic?" Liren glanced at him nervously. "Sir, perhaps we underestimated them. Maybe Earth isn't as primitive as we thought." Velixal stopped pacing and stared at her. "No," he said, firmly. "We haven't underestimated them. We've misunderstood them. And that's a mistake we won't make again." The days following the alien landing near Denver felt like something out of a science fiction movie. But no one was watching from the comfort of their couch anymore. This was real life, and humanity was scrambling to figure out what to do next. In Washington, D.C., leaders from across the globe gathered for an emergency summit. The United Nations headquarters buzzed with activity as diplomats, scientists, and military officials debated how to respond to the alien presence. For once, countries set aside their differences and worked together. It wasn't easy. Arguments broke out over who should take charge, which experts to trust, and whether the aliens were friends, foes, or something else entirely. But everyone agreed on one thing: Earth couldn't afford to mess this up. At the same time, ordinary people around the world reacted in their own unique ways. Some panicked, stockpiling food and supplies as though an invasion was imminent. Others treated the situation like a holiday, throwing alien parties and dressing up in costumes inspired by old sci-fi films. Social media exploded with jokes, memes, and wild theories about why the aliens had come. One popular hashtag read, "Welcome to Earth, hope you like chaos." Amidst all the noise, two key figures emerged: retired Marine Derek Holt and MIT linguistics student Jasmine Patel. Derek had spent years training soldiers how to handle unpredictable situations, while Jasmine specialized in deciphering complex languages. Neither expected to be called into action during humanity's first contact with extraterrestrials, but here they were. Derek Holt sat in a cold, sterile conference room, had a secret military base outside Colorado Springs. He'd been pulled out of retirement less than 24 hours ago and flown here under strict secrecy. Now he faced a group of high-ranking officers who looked both exhausted and desperate. "We need you to help us understand these visitors," said General Hargrove, a grizzled man in his late 50s. "They're not talking, not cooperating, and frankly, we don't know what they want." Derek nodded thoughtfully. "Do we even know if they can talk?" he asked. "Maybe they communicate differently." "That's where Dr. Patel comes in," Hargrove replied, gesturing toward a young woman sitting quietly at the end of the table. Jasmine Patel looked barely old enough to be out of college, but her sharp eyes betrayed a brilliant mind. "I've been analyzing recordings of their hums and symbols," Jasmine explained. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. Their language doesn't follow typical patterns. It's non-linear, almost musical." "Meaning?" Derek pressed. "Meaning we might have to rethink everything we know about communication," Jasmine admitted. "But I think I can crack it. If we give me access to their ship, or at least some of their tech, I might be able to decode their signals." Hargrove exchanged glances with the other officers. "Fine," he said finally. "We'll arrange it. But remember, time is critical. Those things are still broadcasting to their mothership, and we don't know when reinforcements will arrive." Meanwhile, aboard the Zarnathi scout ship, Commander Velixal paced anxiously. His infiltration team had failed miserably, captured by humans within hours of landing. Worse yet, the probe's destruction had exposed their position, forcing them to abandon stealth mode entirely. Now, every satellite and radar system on Earth was pointed directly at them. Velixal's frustration boiled over as he listened to reports from his crew. "How could this happen?" he demanded. "We're the Zarnathi Dominion. We conquer civilizations without resistance." "It's not that simple, sir," Liren said cautiously. "These humans, they're different. They adapt quickly, improvise constantly, and seem completely unafraid of us." Velixal stopped pacing and turned to face her. "Unafraid? Of course they're afraid. Everyone fears us." Liren hesitated. "Not these ones. Look at their broadcasts. Instead of panicking, they're making jokes about us. celebrating our arrival, acting like we're just another challenge to overcome. Velixel snorted. Challenge? They're primitives. What could they possibly do against us? They've already destroyed one of our probes, Liran reminded him, and captured an entire infiltration squad. Don't underestimate them. Velixel clenched his fists, but said nothing. Deep down, he knew she was right. Something about Earth and its inhabitants wasn't adding up. The more they learned, the more confused they became. Back in Denver, Sheriff Karen Morales found herself thrust into the spotlight. Reporters hounded her for interviews, asking how she managed to arrest the aliens so easily. She gave vague answers, careful not to reveal too much about the ongoing investigation. In truth, she didn't fully understand what had happened either. All she knew was that the aliens acted strangely, like tourists lost in a foreign country. They weren't hostile, Karen told Derek and Jasmine during a private meeting. More like curious kids wandering into trouble. When I arrested them, they didn't resist, just kept staring at everything like it was new to them. Did they say anything? Jasmine asked eagerly. No words, Karen replied. Just those weird humming noises and glowing symbols. Honestly, it was kinda creepy. Jasmine nodded, jotting notes in her notebook. That matches what I've observed in the footage. Their language isn't vocal. It's probably multisensory, combining sound, light, and maybe even touch. What does that mean for us? Derek asked bluntly. It means we're going to have to get creative, Jasmine said. Traditional interrogation techniques won't work. We'll need to find a way to meet them halfway. While the humans strategized, the Zarnathi attempted their own form of communication. From orbit, they broadcasted a series of messages aimed at Earth's major cities. The transmissions included mathematical sequences, geometric shapes, and pulsating lights, all designed to convey peaceful intentions. Unfortunately, humanity interpreted them differently. In New York City, a teenager playing video games noticed strange interference on his TV screen. Thinking it was part of the game, he recorded the glitch and posted it online. Within minutes, gamers worldwide were sharing clips of the alien Easter egg, speculating that developers had hidden secret codes in their favorite titles. Tokyo engineers mistook the signal for a malfunctioning satellite and tried to jam it. When that failed, they shrugged it off as cosmic noise. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists claimed the broadcasts were proof of a global mind control experiment. Only Jasmine recognized the patterns for what they truly were. After analyzing the signals, she pieced together fragments of meaning. They're trying to talk to us, she announced during a briefing, using universal concepts like math and geometry. But their tone, it's cautious, almost apologetic. General Hargrove frowned. Apologetic for what? For invading, Jasmine guessed, or maybe for failing. Either way, they're not as confident as they seem. As tensions mounted, the Zarnathi decided to escalate their efforts. A second wave of probes descended into Earth's atmosphere, this time targeting remote locations far from human populations. Their goal was simple: gather data without drawing attention. But once again, they underestimated humanity. In Alaska, a fisherman named Carl spotted a shimmering object hovering above his boat. Thinking it was a drone, he grabbed his shotgun and fired. The probe exploded in a burst, signaling the start of Round 2 between humans and aliens. By now, Earth's defenses were on full alert. Experimental weapon systems, long shelved due to budget cuts or lack of necessity, were rushed into production. Hackers infiltrated alien networks, flooding them with misinformation and fake coordinates. Even amateur radio operators joined the effort, broadcasting random frequencies to confuse the invaders. Commander Velixel watched the chaos unfold with mounting dread. Every move they made triggered an unexpected reaction. Every attempt to assert dominance only deepened the confusion. For the first time in centuries, the Zarnathi found themselves outmatched, not by superior technology but by sheer unpredictability. These humans are insane, Velixel muttered, shaking his head. How do you fight something that refuses to play by the rules? Lyrian offered a small, hesitant smile. Maybe that's the point, sir. Maybe they're not supposed to make sense. The aliens were still locked up in a secure facility outside Denver. But keeping them contained was proving harder than anyone expected. Despite their calm demeanor, the Zarnathi captives radiated an eerie sense of intelligence. They didn't resist or try to escape. They just observed everything around them with unsettling curiosity. Sheriff Karen Morales stood outside the holding room, watching through a one-way mirror as scientists and military personnel poked and prodded the prisoners. The aliens sat silently on metal chairs, their glowing eyes scanning every detail of the room. Occasionally, they emitted soft hums that seemed to resonate through the walls. It wasn't clear whether these sounds were attempts at communication or something else entirely. "They're not like anything we've ever dealt with," said Dr. Emily Scott, the lead scientist assigned to study the captives. She adjusted her glasses nervously as she addressed Karen and Derek Holt, who had joined her for a briefing. "What do you mean?" Karen asked. "They don't react the way humans do," Emily explained. "No fear, no anger, no frustration. Even when we ran tests, blood samples, brain scans, they didn't flinch. It's like they know something we don't." Derek crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. "Or maybe they're waiting for something." "That's what worries me," Emily admitted. "We've seen how fast they adapt." "If they're biding their time," Karen cut her off, "then we need to figure out their plan before they make a move." Jasmine Patel worked tirelessly in a makeshift lab set up inside the same facility. Her desk was cluttered with papers, laptops, and audio equipment, all tools she used to analyze the strange symbols and hums emitted by the aliens. So far, she'd managed to isolate patterns in their language, but decoding it was another challenge entirely. "These aren't just random noises," Jasmine muttered to herself as she replayed a recording. "There's structure here. Almost. Like music." She paused the playback and jotted down notes. Each hum corresponded to a specific symbol displayed during the aliens' earlier broadcasts. By combining sound and visuals, Jasmine believed she could create a rudimentary translation system. But time was running out. Every hour they delayed gave the Zarnathi more opportunities to retaliate, or worse, call for reinforcements. Her concentration was interrupted by a knock on the door. Derek stepped inside, looking grim. "How's it going?" he asked. "I'm making progress," Jasmine replied without looking up. "But it's slow. Their language isn't linear, it's layered, like trying to solve a puzzle while blindfolded." "Can you speed it up?" Derek pressed. "We think they might be planning something." Jasmine sighed and leaned back in her chair. "I'll do my best, but rushing this could lead to mistakes, and if I mess up, we might misinterpret their intentions completely." Derek nodded reluctantly. "Just keep me updated." Meanwhile, aboard the Zarnathi scout ship, Commander Velixal faced mounting pressure from his superiors. The High Council had grown impatient with his lack of progress and demanded immediate results. "You've been observing Earth for days," growled Admiral Zetheris over a secure transmission. "What have you learned?" Velixal clenched his jaw. "That Earth is unlike any world we've encountered. Their behavior is erratic, unpredictable. They destroyed our probe, captured our team, and now they're flooding our systems with misinformation." "And yet, you remain cloaked," Zetheris snapped. "Why haven't you struck back?" "Because striking blindly would be suicide," Velixal shot back. "Their defenses are primitive but effective. Their tactics defy logic. Attacking them head-on would only provoke further retaliation." Zetheris glared at him. "Your hesitation reflects poorly on the Dominion. If you cannot resolve this situation, we will send reinforcements and remove you from command." B.O. Transmission ended abruptly, leaving Velixal seething. He turned to Liren, who stood nearby. "Prepare the fleet for deployment," he ordered. "If Earth won't yield to reason, we'll force compliance." Liren hesitated. "Sir, are you—" "Sure, their unpredictability makes them dangerous. A direct assault could escalate beyond control. We have no choice," Velixal said coldly. "The Council demands action. Failure is not an option." Back on Earth, tensions reached a boiling point when the Zarnathi launched a second wave of probes. This time the targets were major cities: New York, London, Tokyo, and Moscow. The probes descended silently, hovering above skyscrapers and broadcasting signals that disrupted power grids and communication networks. In New York, panic spread as streetlights flickered and cell phones died. Crowds gathered in Times Square, staring up at the shimmering craft floating above them. Some shouted insults, others waved signs reading, "Go home" or "Take me with you." A few brave souls even threw objects at the probe, though none came close to hitting it. The U.S. military responded swiftly, deploying fighter jets armed with experimental EMP weapons. When the pilots fired, the probe shuddered, but didn't explode. Instead, it emitted a blinding flash of light, temporarily disabling the jet's electronics. The plane spiraled out of control, narrowly avoiding disaster thanks to skilled maneuvering. News of the attack spread instantly, igniting outrage across the globe. Protesters took to the streets, demanding answers from their governments. Social media erupted with hashtags like "Our Earth Unites" and "Our Fight Back." For the first time in history, humanity felt truly united, not by shared ideals but by a common enemy. Inside the Denver facility, the aliens reacted strangely to the escalating conflict. One of them stood abruptly, emitting a series of rapid hums that caused the lights in the room to flicker. Scientists scrambled to contain the situation, but the alien ignored them, walking toward the door. "It's activating something," Emily shouted, backing away. Before anyone could stop it, the alien placed its hand on the wall. A surge of energy coursed through the building, triggering alarms and locking down all exits. Guards rushed in, weapons drawn, but the alien simply stood there unmoving. "What's happening?" Derek demanded, arriving on the scene. "It's communicating," Jasmine realized suddenly. "Through the building's systems." She grabbed her laptop and plugged it into a nearby terminal. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as she tried to intercept the signal. After several tense minutes, she gasped. "They're sending a message to their mothership." "To tell them what?" Derek asked urgently. "That Earth is resisting," Jasmine said grimly, "and that reinforcements are needed." As night fell, the skies above Earth grew darker, not because of clouds but because of the growing threat looming overhead. The Zarnathi fleet prepared to descend en masse, ready to crush humanity's defiance once and for all. But unbeknownst to them, Earth's defenders weren't about to roll over. In Washington, D.C., world leaders finalized plans for a coordinated counterattack. Experimental weapons, cutting-edge drones, and hacker collectives joined forces under a single banner: Project Terra Shield. Humanity's survival depended on teamwork, ingenuity, and sheer determination. For the first time, Earth's chaotic nature became its greatest strength. Where other civilizations might crumble under pressure, humanity thrived. They didn't follow rules, they rewrote them. And deep down, even Commander Velixel began to realize the truth. Conquering Earth wouldn't be easy. In fact, it might be impossible. The world had changed overnight. Governments that once kept secrets now worked together openly, sharing intelligence and resources to face the alien threat. In secure bunkers beneath major cities, war rooms buzzed with activity. Scientists, soldiers, hackers, and strategists gathered to plan humanity's next move. This wasn't just a battle, it was survival. At the heart of it all was Project Terra Shield, a hastily assembled coalition led by retired Marine Derek Holt and linguistics prodigy Jasmine Patel. Their mission was clear: decode the Zarnathi language, understand their intentions, and find a way to fight back before the aliens launched a full-scale invasion. Derek stood at the front of a crowded briefing room, pointing to a map projected on the wall. Red dots marked locations where Zarnathi probes had appeared. "They're probing us," he said firmly, "testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses, but we've got something they don't." "What's that?" asked General Hargrove, arms crossed over his chest. "Chaos," Derek replied. "We don't play by rules. We improvise. That's our advantage." Jasmine nodded in agreement. She sat at a nearby table, surrounded by laptops and papers covered in alien symbols. "Their language is complex but not impossible to crack. I think I can use their own signals against them if we act fast." Hargrove frowned. "How fast are we talking?" "Hours," Jasmine admitted. "Maybe less. If we delay, they'll bring in reinforcements. Then we don't have time to waste, Derek said. He turned to the room. Everyone knows their role. Let's get to work. While humanity prepared its counterattack aboard the Zarnathi scout ship, Commander Velixal grew increasingly frustrated. His second wave of probes had failed to subdue Earth's population. Instead of cowering in fear, humans fought back with surprising ingenuity. Streets filled with protests, online networks flooded with misinformation, and experimental weapons disrupted Zarnathi systems. What are they doing? Velixal muttered, staring at footage of human resistance. Protesters held signs mocking the aliens while memes about the Zarnathi spread across social media like wildfire. They're mocking us, Lyraean said quietly, standing beside him, making jokes about our presence, acting like we're entertainment. Velixal slammed his fist on the console. Entertainment? We're the Zarnathi Dominion. They should be terrified. But they're not, Lyraean pointed out. And that's what makes them dangerous. Fear is predictable. Chaos isn't. Velixal glared at her but said nothing. Deep down he knew she was right. Humanity's unpredictability made them an enigma, and a challenge the Zarnathi hadn't faced before. Back on Earth, preparations for the counterattack moved forward at breakneck speed. Experimental drones armed with EMP weapons were deployed to neutralize alien technology. Hackers infiltrated Zarnathi communication channels, flooding their systems with fake coordinates and misleading data. Even amateur radio operators joined the effort, broadcasting random frequencies to confuse the invaders. In Denver, Jasmine worked tirelessly to decipher the Zarnathi language. Her breakthrough came when she realized their hums and symbols weren't just words, they were instructions. By analyzing patterns in their broadcasts, she identified commands sent to the probes. With this knowledge, she created a program capable of intercepting and altering those commands. We can turn their own tech against them, Jasmine announced during a late-night meeting. She demonstrated her findings on a laptop, showing how altered signals caused a captured probe to malfunction. If we broadcast these changes globally, we can disable their entire fleet. Derek grinned. That's exactly what we need. Do it. As dawn broke over Earth, the counterattack began. Modified signals flooded the airwaves, targeting every Zarnathi probe in orbit. One by one, the shimmering crafts sputtered and fell silent. Some exploded mid-air, others plummeted harmlessly into oceans or deserts. Humanity celebrated each victory, unaware that the real battle was yet to come. Commander Velixal watched in horror as his fleet collapsed around him. How is this possible? He demanded. Who could have done this? Lyraean hesitated before answering. It's the humans. They've reverse-engineered our signals. Velixal's eyes narrowed. Then it's time to end this. Prepare the mothership for descent. The Council won't approve. Lyraean started. I don't care, Velixal snapped. If we wait any longer, they'll destroy us completely. Unbeknownst to the Zarnathi, humanity had one final trick up its sleeve. In a top-secret facility deep underground, scientists worked feverishly to activate a prototype weapon known as the Quantum Disruptor. Designed to destabilize energy fields, the device had never been tested in combat, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Derek oversaw the operation, pacing anxiously as technicians ran final checks. Are you sure this thing will work? He asked Dr. Scott, who supervised the project. It should, she replied, though her tone betrayed uncertainty. But if it doesn't, we're dead, Derek finished for her. Got it. Above ground, chaos reigned as news of the impending attack spread. Civilians fled cities, seeking shelter wherever they could find it. Military forces mobilized, preparing for the worst. Despite the fear, there was also determination. Humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. When the Zarnathi mothership descended into Earth's atmosphere, it was met with fierce resistance. Fighter jets swarmed the massive craft, firing missiles and EMP bursts. Ground-based lasers targeted its hull, causing sparks to fly. For a moment, it seemed like humanity might actually win. But then the mothership unleashed its primary weapon, a beam of pure energy that vaporized everything in its path. Cities crumbled, forests burned, and thousands perished in an instant. Panic swept across the globe as people realized the true scale of the threat. In the midst of devastation, hope flickered in the form of the quantum disruptor. Activated remotely, the device emitted a pulse that rippled through the atmosphere, disrupting the mothership's energy field. The alien vessel shuddered violently, its weapons momentarily disabled. "This is our chance," Derek shouted into a radio. "Hit them now." Every available asset converged on the crippled ship. Bombers dropped payloads of experimental explosives, while ground teams fired railguns loaded with metal slugs designed to pierce alien armor. Slowly but surely, the Zarnathi mothership began to break apart. On board, Commander Velixel stared in disbelief as alarms blared and walls cracked. "No," he whispered. "This can't be happening." Liren placed a hand on his shoulder. "Sir, we need to retreat." Velixel shook her off. "Retreat? After all this?" "If we stay, we die," she insisted. "There's no shame in living to fight another day." Reluctantly, Velixel gave the order to withdraw. What remained of the Zarnathi fleet limped back into space, leaving Earth battered but victorious. As the dust settled, humanity took stock of the damage. Millions had died, and countless more were displaced. Yet amidst the ruins, a sense of unity emerged. Nations that once distrusted each other now stood side by side, vowing never to let such destruction happen again. For Derek, Jasmine, and everyone else involved in Project Terra Shield, the battle was far from over. The Zarnathi would return someday, but when they did, Earth would be ready. "We showed them what happens when you mess with us," Derek said, watching the horizon glow with the first light of morning. "Next time they'll think twice." Jasmine nodded. "And maybe they'll learn something about us in the process." "What's that?" Derek asked. The aftermath of the Zarnathi retreat left Earth scarred but defiant. Cities lay in ruins, forests burned, and millions mourned their lost loved ones. Yet despite the devastation, humanity refused to break. If anything, the attack had only strengthened their resolve. People around the world came together, not just to rebuild but to prepare for the next battle. In secure bunkers beneath shattered cities, leaders from every corner of the globe worked tirelessly to organize Earth's defenses. Project Terra. SHIELD expanded rapidly, drawing in scientists, engineers, soldiers, and even ordinary citizens eager to contribute. Everyone had a role to play, no matter how small. For the first time in history, humanity truly felt united. At the center of it all were Derek Holt and Jasmine Patel. Derek coordinated military efforts, ensuring that weapons and strategies evolved faster than the aliens could adapt. Jasmine focused on decoding the Zarnathi language, determined to uncover their weaknesses before they returned. Together, they led a team of brilliant minds racing against time. Derek paced the floor of a dimly lit war room, his boots echoing softly against the concrete. Maps and diagrams covered the walls, each one marked with red circles indicating alien activity. Though the Zarnathi had retreated, their probes still lingered in orbit, watching silently. "They're waiting," Derek said, addressing the room, "biding their time until they think we're weak enough to strike again." "What do you suggest?" asked General Hargrove, leaning forward in his chair. "We hit them before they recover," Derek replied firmly. "We've got the quantum disruptor prototype. They don't know about it yet. If we use it now, we might cripple their fleet permanently." Hargrove frowned. "That thing hasn't been tested thoroughly. What if it fails?" "It won't fail," Jasmine interjected, stepping into the conversation. She held up her laptop, displaying a series of graphs and equations. "I've been analyzing their energy signatures. The disruptor is designed to destabilize their power sources. It'll work. I'm sure of it." Derek nodded. "She's right. This is our best shot. We can't afford to wait." After a tense moment of silence, Hargrove sighed. "All right, make it happen. But if this goes south, we're out of options." Meanwhile, aboard the Zarnathi mothership, Commander Velixal struggled to regain control of his forces. The retreat had been humiliating, a stark reminder of humanity's unpredictability. Worse still, the High Council demanded answers, threatening to strip him of command if he couldn't deliver results. Velixal stared at the holographic display showing Earth below. The planet glowed faintly in the darkness, its surface marred by scars from the recent conflict. Despite everything, life persisted. Humans rebuilt what had been destroyed, adapted to new challenges, and continued resisting. "How do you fight something that refuses to die?" Velixal muttered under his breath. Lyran stood nearby, studying data streaming from their remaining probes. "They're resilient," she admitted. "But resilience isn't invincibility. We just need to find the right strategy." "And what would that be?" Velixal snapped. "Every tactic we've tried has failed." "Maybe failure is the key," Lyran suggested cautiously. "Their strength lies in chaos, in breaking rules and defying expectations. Perhaps we need to embrace that same unpredictability." Velixal raised an eyebrow. "You want us to act like them?" "Not entirely," Lyran clarified. "But if we stop trying to conquer them through logic and order, we might stand a chance. They thrive on surprises, so let's give them one." For the first time in days, Velixal allowed himself a small smile. "Very well. Prepare the fleet. We'll strike where they least expect it." Back on Earth, preparations for the counterattack moved swiftly. Engineers fine-tuned the quantum disruptor, while pilots trained rigorously to deploy it effectively. Hackers infiltrated alien networks, planting false information to mislead the Zarnathi. Even civilians contributed by reporting suspicious activity and sharing intel online. Jasmine spent countless hours refining her translation program, using intercepted signals to piece together fragments of the Zarnathi language. Her breakthrough came when she discovered a critical flaw in their communication system. Certain frequencies caused interference, disrupting their commands. "If we broadcast these frequencies globally, we can disable their entire network," Jasmine explained during a briefing. She demonstrated her findings on a screen, showing how altered signals rendered a captured probe useless. "Do it," Derek ordered without hesitation, "and make sure it reaches every corner of the planet." As the modified signals spread, Zarnathi probes began malfunctioning en masse. Some exploded mid-air. Others spiraled out of control and crashed harmlessly into oceans or deserts. Humanity celebrated each victory, unaware that the real battle was yet to come. When the Zarnathi launched their surprise attack, it caught everyone off guard. Instead of targeting major cities, they struck remote locations, military bases, research facilities, and even civilian settlements. Their goal wasn't destruction, it was disruption. By hitting less protected areas, they hoped to weaken Earth's defenses without provoking another full-scale retaliation. In Colorado, Sheriff Karen Morales found herself once again face-to-face with the aliens. This time, however, she wasn't alone. Armed with experimental weapons provided by Project TerraShield, her deputies fought back fiercely, driving the invaders away after a brutal firefight. "They're testing us," Karen reported to Derek over a secure line, "seeing how far they can push before we snap." "They won't get far," Derek assured her. "We're ready for them." The final showdown took place above Earth's atmosphere. Using stolen coordinates from hacked transmissions, human forces lured the Zarnathi fleet into a trap. As the alien ships approached, the quantum disruptor activated, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The Zarnathi vessels shuddered violently, their shields collapsing under the strain. "This is it?" Derek shouted into a radio. "Fire everything we've got." Missiles streaked across the void, striking the disabled ships with pinpoint accuracy. Railguns fired metal slugs at hypersonic speeds, tearing through alien hulls. Within minutes, the once mighty Zarnathi fleet was reduced to drifting wreckage. On board the mothership, Velixal watched helplessly as his forces crumbled around him. "It's over," he whispered, his voice heavy with defeat. Lyran placed a hand on his shoulder. "Not yet, sir. There's still hope." Velixal shook his head. "Hope? After this?" "No. We've underestimated them too many times. Humanity isn't like anything we've faced before. As the surviving Zarnathi ships limped back into space, Velixal made a decision. He sent a final transmission to the High Council, urging them to abandon plans for conquest. "Earth is different," he wrote. "They don't follow rules, they fight dirty, and they never give up. To win against them would cost more than we're willing to lose." On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. Fireworks lit up the night sky, and crowds gathered in streets to cheer. For the first time in weeks, people felt safe, or at least safer, but Derek and Jasmine knew better. The Zarnathi might have retreated, but they hadn't surrendered. Someday they would return. When that day came, humanity would need to be stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. "We showed them what happens when you mess with Earth," Derek said, standing beside Jasmine as they watched the horizon glow with dawn's first light. "And maybe they learned something about us," Jasmine replied with a faint smile. "That we're not afraid to fight dirty, because we've got nothing left to lose." The Zarnathi fleet limped away from Earth, their ships battered and broken. For the first time in centuries, the mighty empire had been forced to retreat, not by superior technology, but by sheer unpredictability. Humanity's chaotic nature had proven too much for them to handle. Yet even as they fled, Commander Velixal couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Something important. Back on Earth, the victory celebrations were short-lived. While people cheered in the wow, streets leaders gathered in secure rooms to discuss what came next. They knew the Zarnathi weren't gone for good. Sooner or later they would return, and when they did, humanity needed to be ready. Derek Holt and Jasmine Patel stood side by side in a dimly lit war room, staring at a massive screen displaying intercepted Zarnathi signals. The aliens were retreating, but they were still broadcasting. Their messages were fragmented, jumbled, and filled with static, like they were trying to communicate despite heavy interference. "What are they saying?" Derek asked, his voice low. Jasmine leaned closer to her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "It's hard to tell," she admitted. "Their language is layered, remember? But I think they're arguing." "Arguing about what?" "Us," Jasmine replied. "Some of them want to keep fighting. Others seem to think it's not worth the cost." Derek raised an eyebrow. "So they're divided?" "It looks that way," Jasmine said, nodding. "And if we can exploit that division..." Her voice trailed off, but Derek understood immediately. If the Zarnathi were split, humanity could use that to their advantage. But how? Sending a message directly to the aliens seemed risky. What if they misinterpreted it? What if it made things worse? "We need to show them who we are," Derek said finally. "Not just as fighters, but as survivors. As people who don't give up no matter what." Jasmine turned to him, her eyes lighting up. "You mean, send them a message?" "Exactly," Derek replied. "Something they'll never forget." Over. The next few days, Jasmine worked tirelessly to craft the perfect message. She combined fragments of human history, culture, and resilience into a single transmission. It included footage of past wars, natural disasters, protests, and even viral videos showing humanity's humor and creativity. She added clips of scientists working late nights, soldiers protecting borders, and ordinary people helping strangers in times of need. "This isn't just a message," Jasmine explained during a briefing. "It's a statement. We're telling them that Earth isn't easy to conquer because we've already survived ourselves." General Hargrove frowned. "Are you sure this is wise? What if they see it as a threat?" "They won't," Jasmine insisted. "They'll see it as a warning, and maybe even a lesson." After hours of debate, the team agreed to proceed. The message was encoded into multiple frequencies and broadcasted directly toward the retreating Zarnathi fleet. Along with the visuals, Jasmine included a translated audio track in the Zarnathi language, using her program to convert human speech into their musical hums and glowing symbols. "To the Zarnathi Dominion," the message began. "You came here thinking Earth was another conquest, You found chaos, noise, and people who don't follow rules. You think we're unprepared? Welcome to the world that survived itself." The final clip showed a child smiling brightly, holding a sign that read, "We're weird. Deal with it." Aboard the Zarnathi mothership, Commander Velixal stared at the incoming transmission. At first he assumed it was another attempt at misinformation, a trick to confuse his crew. But as the message played, he realized it was something far more profound. Scenes of human triumph and tragedy unfolded before him. Battles fought and won, cities rebuilt after destruction, families reuniting after years apart. There were moments of joy, sorrow, anger, and hope, all captured in vivid detail. And then came the words, spoken clearly in both human and Zarnathi languages. "You came here thinking Earth was weak. You found strength instead. Strength in chaos, in unpredictability, in unity. Leave us alone, or face the consequences." Velixal felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just a message, it was a declaration. Humanity wasn't begging for mercy, they were issuing a challenge. A challenge wrapped in pride, defiance, and raw determination. Liraine watched silently as the transmission ended. "What do you think, sir?" she asked cautiously. Velixal didn't answer right away. He replayed the message several times, studying every frame, every word. Finally he spoke. "They're insane," he muttered, "but they're also remarkable." Liraine nodded. "Do you think the council will listen?" "I don't know," Velixal admitted. "But I'll make sure they hear this." Hours later, the High Council convened aboard the Zarnathi capital ship. Velixal presented the message, playing it in full without interruption. When it ended, the chamber fell silent. Even the most hardened council members seemed shaken. "They're unlike anything we've ever encountered," one counselor said finally. "How do you fight something that thrives on chaos?" "You don't," Velixal replied. "Not without losing yourself in the process." Another counselor leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we abandon Earth entirely?" "No," Velixal corrected. "I'm suggesting we classify Earth as a Class X threat. Unpredictable, resilient, and resistant to assimilation. Any attempt to conquer them would require resources we can't afford to waste." The council debated long into the night, weighing the risks and rewards of continuing the assault. In the end, they reached a unanimous decision. Earth was to be left alone. Further attempts at conquest would only lead to greater losses and potentially destabilize the entire empire. As the order went out to all Zarnathi forces, Velixal allowed himself a small sigh of relief. For now, the threat was over. But deep down, he knew the truth. Earth had changed them. Just as humanity had survived itself, the Zarnathi had learned a valuable lesson about the limits of power. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal, or at least as close to normal as possible. People rebuilt homes, reopened businesses, and tried to move forward. But the memory of the alien invasion lingered, a constant reminder of how fragile yet resilient humanity truly was. In Denver, Sheriff Karen Morales attended a ceremony honoring those who had fought against the Zarnathi. As she accepted a medal for bravery, she glanced at Derek and Jasmine standing nearby. Both looked exhausted, but determined. "What happens now?" Karen asked quietly as the crowd dispersed. "We keep preparing," Derek replied, "for whatever comes next." Jasmine nodded. "And we remember what makes us strong. Not just our weapons or technology, but our ability to adapt, improvise, and never give up." Karen smiled faintly. "Sounds like a plan." Later that evening, Jasmine sat alone in her lab reviewing the final version of the message she'd sent to the Zarnathi. She replayed the closing line one last time. "You came here thinking Earth was weak. You found strength instead." As the screen faded to black, Jasmine leaned back in her chair and allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. But the real test lay ahead. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, the Zarnathi watched and waited. And so did Earth. The Zarnathi fleet drifted silently through the cold emptiness of space, far beyond Earth's orbit. Their ships bore the scars of battle, burn marks on hulls, shattered weapons arrays, and darkened sections where power had failed entirely. For a civilization that prided itself on conquest, the retreat was humiliating. But Commander Velixal knew better than to dwell on pride. Survival mattered more, and survival meant learning from failure. Inside the mothership's command center, the High Council convened for an emergency meeting. Holographic displays flickered above the circular table, showing images of Earth's defenses, human resistance, and the message they had received. Despite their advanced technology, the Zarnathi leaders looked uneasy. Some shifted in their seats. Others avoided eye contact altogether. "We underestimated them," one counselor admitted reluctantly. "We thought Earth would fall like every other world. Instead, we lost." Velixal stood at the head of the table, his glowing red eyes scanning the room. "It wasn't just underestimation," he said firmly. "It was ignorance. We approached Earth with logic, expecting order. What we found was chaos, a species that thrives on unpredictability." Another counselor leaned forward. "Chaos isn't strength, it's weakness. They're disorganized, reckless, and irrational." "Yet they defeated us," Velixal countered. "Their weakness became their greatest weapon. They didn't follow rules. They adapted faster than we could counter. And when we tried to impose our will, they resisted with everything they had." The council fell silent. None of them could deny the truth. Humanity had proven itself unlike any species they had encountered before. Earth wasn't just a planet, it was a force of nature. As the discussion continued, Liran presented her findings. She projected data onto the holographic displays, highlighting patterns in human behavior during the conflict. "They don't rely solely on technology," she explained. "Their strength comes from cooperation, creativity, and sheer determination. Even civilians contributed to the fight, hacking our systems, spreading misinformation, and reporting suspicious activity." One counselor scoffed. "Civilians? How does that matter?" "It matters because it shows unity," Liran replied. "Every human played a role, no matter how small. That's why we couldn't isolate their leadership or target key locations. There was no single point of failure." Velixal nodded. "And now they've sent us a message, a warning wrapped in pride. They know we'll remember it. They want us to think twice before returning." The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. The message had shaken them, not because it was threatening, but because it revealed something unsettling about humanity. These creatures weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to protect something greater, something intangible. "What do you propose we do?" asked the head counselor, turning to Velixal. "We leave them alone," Velixal answered without hesitation. "Classify Earth as a Class X threat and mark it off limits. Any attempt to conquer them would require resources we can't afford to waste and risk destabilizing the Empire." The council debated for hours, weighing the pros and cons of abandoning Earth. Some argued that retreating would make the Zarnathi appear weak. Others insisted that persistence would only lead to further losses. In the end, practicality won out. Earth was too dangerous to conquer and too unpredictable to control. "Very well," the head counselor declared. "Earth is classified as a Class X threat. All forces are ordered to withdraw immediately. Further engagement is prohibited unless absolutely necessary." As the decision was finalized, Velixal felt a strange mix of relief and frustration. Relief because the war was over. Frustration because the Zarnathi had been forced to back down. Still, he knew the council had made the right choice. Humanity wasn't worth the cost. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Or at least, as close to normal as possible. Cities rebuilt their shattered skylines, farmers replanted scorched fields, and families mourned those they had lost. Yet, despite the scars left by the invasion, there was also a sense of triumph. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. In secure facilities around the globe, Project Terra Shield remained active. Derek Holt and Jasmine Patel worked tirelessly to prepare for future threats. knowing the Zarnathi might not be the last aliens to visit Earth. They analyzed every scrap of alien technology recovered from the battlefield, reverse engineering, weapons, shields, and communication systems. "This changes everything," Derek said one evening as he and Jasmine reviewed their progress. "We've seen what's out there and we know we can win, but next time we need to be ready." Jasmine nodded. "Agreed. The Zarnathi taught us something important. Adaptability is key. We can't rely on old tactics or outdated tech. We have to stay ahead of the curve." Derek smiled faintly. "Sounds like a plan." Meanwhile, ordinary people adapted to the new reality in their own ways. Maggie Lang, the drone enthusiast who had inadvertently sparked global awareness of the Zarnathi, became an overnight sensation. Her YouTube channel gained millions of subscribers, and she used her platform to educate viewers about space exploration, alien life, and the importance of preparedness. "I never expected this," Maggie admitted during an interview. "I was just trying to figure out what that weird thing in the sky was. Turns out it changed the world." Her videos often featured interviews with scientists, military personnel, and even conspiracy theorists, offering a wide range of perspectives on humanity's first contact with extraterrestrials. While some criticized her for sensationalizing the event, others praised her for keeping the conversation alive. Sheriff Karen Morales also found herself thrust into the spotlight. After leading the arrest of the Zarnathi infiltration team, she became a symbol of courage and quick thinking. Invitations poured in from news outlets and talk shows, but Karen declined most of them. Instead, she focused on her community, ensuring that Denver remained safe and resilient. "You did good," Derek told her during a visit to the city. "You showed everyone that sometimes all it takes is one person to make a difference." Karen shrugged modestly. "I was just doing my job. Besides, I had help." In quieter moments, humanity reflected on what had happened and what it meant for the future. Schools added lessons about the invasion to their curriculums, teaching children about resilience, unity, and the importance of standing together in the face of adversity. Artists created murals and sculptures honoring those who had fought. Writers penned books and articles exploring the psychological impact of encountering alien life. For many, the experience served as a wake-up call. Earth wasn't alone in the universe, and that realization brought both fear and wonder. Fear of what else might be out there, wonder at the possibilities. At a press conference marking 6 months since the invasion, world leaders gathered to address the public. Standing side by side on a stage adorned with flags from every nation, they delivered a unified message. "Humanity has always thrived on challenges," one leader began. "From wars to pandemics, natural disasters to technological revolutions, we've risen to meet each obstacle with courage and determination. Today, we stand united, not just as nations but as a species. Together, we will face whatever comes next." The crowd erupted in applause, cheering loudly as the leaders embraced. For the first time in history, humanity truly felt like one family. Far away aboard the Zarnathi mothership, Commander Velixel stared at a final image of Earth displayed on his console. The planet glowed softly against the blackness of space, its surface alive with light and movement. He thought about the message humanity had sent, their declaration of strength and defiance. "They're not just survivors," Velixel muttered to himself. "They're fighters. And maybe that's something to respect." As the ship turned toward home, Velixel allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The Zarnathi had always believed themselves superior to other species. But Earth had proven that superiority wasn't defined by power or technology. It was defined by spirit. Humans hadn't won because they were stronger or smarter. They had won because they refused to give up, because they fought dirty, broke rules, and embraced chaos, because they were weird and proud of it. Velixel smiled faintly. "Perhaps we still have much to learn,"